Good day, everyone. Welcome to the 10th lecture for Module 1 of the course IE 306 Supply Chain and Logistics Management. In this lecture, we will be discussing the challenges in achieving as well as maintaining strategic fit. So, till the previous lecture, we were talking about the steps involved in achieving strategic fit. Now, we would have a look at the different challenges involved in maintaining the strategic fit that has been achieved. I am Matthew Baby, Assistant Professor with the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology. So without further delay, let's get started with this lecture. So the key to strategic fit is basically finding a balance between the supply chain responsiveness and supply chain efficiency that best matches the needs of our target customers. So the difficulty here is basically determine what is the right level of responsiveness, or what or where is the balance in the responsiveness spectrum. So there are different challenges or different conditions which basically pose as a threat in maintaining as well as achieving strategic fit. So we'll be discussing 5 different challenges that basically comes across or basically is faced by a company when it tries to achieve as well as maintain strategic fit. So the very first challenge is the increasing product variety as well as shrinking life cycles of products. The life cycles of products are lowering on a day by day basis. For example, if you take the case of mobile phones, okay, a mobile phone model, once it's brought to the market, it's hardly there for 6 months to a maximum of 1 year. It is replaced by a new model in 1 year's time. So the life cycles of products have reduced considerably, as well as the amount of product variety that is being dealt with by a particular company is also increasing. So greater amounts of product variety as well as shorter life cycles increases the uncertainty, the implied uncertainty faced by organizations, and reduces the time window within which strategic fit can be achieved. So the strategic fit has to be achieved within a very short period of time because the life cycle of these products are really short. So it's not a one time or a one shot operation to achieve strategic fit. You might require modifications as we move along to the supply chain to achieve strategic fit. So since the time window that is available within which the strategic fit has to be achieved is shorter due to the shorter life cycles, the increasing product variety and shrinking life cycles basically make achieving strategic fit as well as maintaining strategic fit a difficult proposition. So it becomes even more difficult when new products are introduced into a particular firm's product portfolio without eliminating old ones. So the variety that they deal with is even larger. So to tackle the situation of increasing product variety and shrinking life cycles, especially the problem with increasing product variety, firms must design product platforms with common components. Okay, so use of common components will basically make the manufacturing process much more easier. At the same time, it makes the entire supply chain much more responsive. Okay, they should maintain a tailored supply chain to deal with products of high as well as low demand. Okay, and they should limit the variety of products by continuous or continued elimination of old products from their lineup. So one of the greatest success stories in terms of product portfolio management can be with the case of Apple. So if you take the case of Apple, whenever they introduce a new model, they generally phase out one or two of the older models. Okay, that is especially true with the amount of product variety that they sell in terms of their different products like mobile phones, laptops. So they generally maintain a lower product variety in their product portfolio, thereby reducing the challenge that is posed by increasing product variety. So whenever they introduce a new product, they make it a point to eliminate one of their older products from their lineup. So it's basically a replacement kind of a replacement kind of introduction of new products. A new product replacing another one, and an older product replacing an even older one. So by the end of this particular replacement cycle, we see that one of the oldest products in amongst the product portfolio is being completely removed from the portfolio. So the first challenge that a company faces with regard to achieving as well as maintaining strategic fit is the increasing product variety as well as the shrinking life cycles of products. The second challenge is with regards to the phenomenon called globalization and increased levels of uncertainty. Now, the phenomenon of globalization is basically has presented both opportunities and threats to companies. So, globalization has given companies an opportunity to expand their operations and expand their product and product portfolio reach across the globe. So in that particular regard, it is an opportunity. But at the same time, when you are exposing your firm to a market segment that is located geographically across the world, at different parts of the world, it basically brings in certain difficulties along with it. So especially since globalization, we have in recent times seen significant changes in global demand for items, okay, significant change in exchange rates, crude oil rates. Now all of these factors, that is global demand, exchange rate, crude oil rates, they are all factors that affect supply chain performance in one way or another. So this particular significant changes in the global environment has resulted in higher levels of uncertainty. So you take for example the demand for automobiles. Okay, it peaked during 2005 and 2006 in the US and then dropped between 2007 and 8 by nearly 30%. Okay, especially for larger vehicles, that is SUVs and trucks. So for SUVs and trucks in the US, there was a significant drop of around 30% in demand, especially while the smaller vehicles demands increase. This was basically attributed to an increased crude oil rate, which resulted in increased fuel prices around 2008. So a gradually increasing and a rapid increase in fuel prices in 2007 2008 especially led to customers preferring smaller vehicles, and this resulted in demand or a great decline in demand for large vehicles in the US. So the crude oil prices correspondingly at in 2000 July 2008 was 145 per barrel, which dropped to $50 by November 2008. So in a span of around 4 to 5 months time, the price dropped by two-thirds. So that is the kind of fluctuation and uncertainty that organizations and firms are facing across the world. So globalization has brought in certain opportunities, but at the same time has posed certain threats in terms of the increased levels of uncertainty. So supply chains which are designed to handle these kinds of uncertainties, they succeed. For example, Honda in their supply chain design, especially their manufacturing stage of the supply chain design, they designed their manufacturing facilities keeping in mind flexibility. So they manufactured both their SUVs and small cars on the same manufacturing line. So this particular demand decrease for demand of large vehicles in the US, okay, and considerable increase in small vehicle demand did not affect Honda since their manufacturing facilities were tailored to be more flexible in nature. Okay, so when the demand for SUV or SUV is reduced, then Honda could basically transfer that capacity that was dedicated or that was basically meant for SUVs and change it over to for the use of manufacture of small cars, since their facility was designed to be flexible. Whereas firms which had dedicated lines for SUVs found it difficult because that particular line's capacity could not be fully exploited because the demand of that particular large vehicles decreased. So this is a second challenge towards achieving and maintaining strategic fit, that is globalization and increasing levels of uncertainty. The third challenge is basically with regards to fragmentation of supply chain ownership. So over the past few decades, we see that firms have started outsourcing most of their non-core functions in order to take advantage of external firms' competencies. So there might be certain organizations which can carry out certain functions of a supply chain much more efficiently than the parent company can. And to take advantage of these external companies' competencies in certain functions, firms have decided to outsource most of their non-core functions or non-essential functions. For example, transportation, they have outsourced. Even core functions like manufacturing has been outsourced by companies. So different parts of a supply chain in the recent times or in the past few decades, I've seen that we have different ownerships or different owners for different parts of supply chain. Say for example, the manufacturing side might be owned by the company or a firm. The distributor might have another ownership, the retailer might have another ownership, okay, and other parts or the transportation that might be handled by another external company. So different parts of a supply chain have different owners, and each of these owners have their own interests as well as policies. So thus there is a difficulty in coordinating and managing the entire supply chain, since different parts or different stages being owned by different parties have their own personal or vested interests. So the outcome is that different stages might work only towards their local objective, okay, their individual objectives, leading to reduction in supply chain profitability. Because as we'll be seeing in the future lectures, we'll come across certain aspects with regard to supply chain performance which are very important. What is important for supply chain profitability is for the entire supply chain to work together, okay. So if you try and optimize just one function or one stage or one company as such that is part of a supply chain, then it might result in certain other functions or certain other stages of the supply chain performing suboptimally. So what is required is certain stages might have to uh, compromise on stage level optimization so that other stages can perform better, and overall as an entire supply chain lead to increased levels of supply chain profitability. So this ownership, fragmentation of supply chain ownership itself will result in different owners focusing upon their individual objectives, thereby trying to optimize their individual function level objectives or individual stage level objectives, and basically losing sight of a larger picture where the supply chain profitability is what is of higher priority. So they lose picture of the larger picture, so they lose sight of the larger picture and then only focus upon their individual stage objectives. This is the third challenge that is faced in achieving as well as maintaining strategic fit. The fourth challenge is the changing technology and business environment. So the technology changes, it is evolving at a very rapid rate, and with the changing technology, the business environment also changes. That means the customers, your competitors, they also change and evolve. So the changing technology has resulted in changing customer needs, okay, and the supply chain strategy must be constantly evaluated and reviewed to maintain strategic fit with the changing customer needs, the changing technology and the changing business environment. So customer needs, they along with the technology is evolving very rapidly, Along with that, the business environment is also changing. That means your competitors, their competitive strategies, okay, their supply chain structure, they are always evolving. So this changing technology and business environment forces all companies to constantly evaluate and review their supply chain strategy so that they achieve and maintain strategic fit. So strategic fit is not achieving strategic fit is not a one-time operation because of this changing environment, business environment, and changing technology. So a very good example for this would be the case of Dell. Okay, so Dell prior to 2007, they focused all their efforts upon selling customized PCs directly to customers due to customer requirement for customization. Okay, and they owned all their manufacturing facilities, and these manufacturing facilities were designed to be flexible to deal with a wide variety of customer requirements. But from 2005 onwards, Dell noticed a change in customer taste. Okay, so they saw that the importance of customization for customers, it gradually lowered, and they rather preferred laptops. Okay, generic say generic specification laptops due to developments in technology. So as technology evolved, most of the components that were used for creating laptops, they became powerful enough for most common or general laptops to serve the purpose for customers. So their need for customization reduced, or this particular trend of reducing need for customization started from 2005, and Dell noticed this particular change in customer trend or customer demand trend. So since 2007, they changed their strategy, okay, specifically their competitive strategy, so that they can maintain this particular strategic fit. So what they did is, since 2007, Dell's supply chain, okay, was modified to focus more upon efficiency. And for this, what they did is, instead of owning manufacturing facilities by themselves, they saw that it was better for them to employ or outsource this manufacturing facility to another company who could do it much more efficiently than themselves. So they outsourced manufacturing, and they also started selling through retail outlets, which they did not prior to 2007. So this is how the changing technology and the changing business environment has forced companies to constantly evaluate and review their strategic fit situation, okay, and then modify either their supply chain strategy or their competitive strategy in order to maintain the strategic fit which was previously achieved. The last challenge that supply chains face or firms face in achieving and maintaining strategic fit is with regard to environment and sustainability. So recent times have seen increasing relevance of environment and sustainability requirements. Now these increasing relevance might have been imposed through regulations, or it would have been taken up, okay, by the particular firm by themselves voluntarily due to the perception that lack of sustainability might become a risk factor in the future. So customers as well as legislation agencies, different governments across the world, they have seen that the impact of technology and impact of improper waste disposals have impacted the environment and sustainability to a great extent, and this has resulted in increasing awareness for of government agencies and customers towards the need for better environment and better sustainability. So some of these requirements have been imposed upon firms through regulations in the form of laws, and some of these increased focus upon environment and sustainability were voluntarily taken up by firms due to the perception of the firms that lack of sustainability, okay, will pose as a risk factor in the future. So an example for some of the environmental regulations which were put upon by the European Union, okay, on electronic waste are given here. So we have two directives by the European Union for regulation of electronic waste. like the Waste Electrical and Electronics Equipment WEEE Directive and the Restriction of Hazardous Substances ROHS Directive by the EU. Now these two directives by the EU have basically forced the electronics or manufacturers, especially the cell phone manufacturers, to rethink their design strategy as well as their sourcing strategies. So every member of a supply chain, okay, was forced to be involved in improving sustainability, and this requires coordination, which becomes even more difficult in the case where the supply chain ownership is fragmented. So the increased focus upon environment and sustainability has always forced the supply chains of firms to modify their functional strategies, which will in turn affect the balance that they have earlier created for achieving strategic fit. So this is the last basic challenge that is faced by firms in achieving as well as maintaining strategic fit. So we have 5 challenges. Okay, each of these challenges have been described in detail. So with this, I conclude my lecture. Thank you.